Hello, this is Chris Brett from People Make Games, and I've asked RPS if I can share some tips for getting the most out of Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord, which came out in early access on Monday, mostly to justify having spent the last 2 days straight playing it, I won't lie. Because yes, it is janky as hell, it is very, very early access, and it still carries with it a legacy of issues that were also present in its predecessor 10 years ago now. But oh my god, at the same time, Mount & Blade, if you know what you're doing, is such a fantastic experience, and I want more people to enjoy that too. So with that in mind, here is a bunch of stuff worth knowing that the game does not make particularly obvious. Like, for example, and I'm going to start with a super quick one here, that if you don't know already, is going to blow your mind. Tip numero uno, horse speed. So, I'm going to hazard a guess here. If you're playing Bannerlord right now, this is your usual experience on horseback. You hold down W to start moving forwards, and if we time this, you'll see that it takes my horse just over 3 seconds to reach top speed. And then, to slow down by holding S, we're looking at just over 2 seconds. You'd be forgiven for thinking that that looks about right. I spent the first 10 hours or so doing this in every single battle, but it isn't right, it's wrong. There's actually a substantially quicker way, and Bannerlord doesn't do a very good job of telling you about it. Instead of holding down W to start moving, try double tapping it instead. This is what happens. You shave off about a second getting to full speed, and that might be the reason your character gets out of trouble or catches a fleeing enemy. And the same goes for slowing down too. Instead of holding down S, double tap it, and bam, your horse slams the brakes on and you come to a halt in about half the time. Seriously, if you didn't know about this already, leave a comment or something, because I reckon most players aren't using this yet. I don't know, perhaps I'm wrong, but I bet I'm not. Moving on to number 2, if you tried to complete the Nerezitz's Folly questline, I did not say that right, which has you travelling across the entire world map in search of a handful of nobles who can help piece together that story for you, you'll know that it's really, really difficult to track them down. Okay, so let's say I need to find Ragavand, the Grand Prince of Sturgir. Where should I go? He's probably going to be somewhere up north, right? But where? At the capital city? That's probably a good shout, but what if he's not there? Maybe he's visiting another family, or patrolling his land, or fighting a war. It can be a complete pain in the arse trying to track these people down, like I did when I completed the quest myself. And then, sometime afterwards, I realised you can actually use the game's encyclopedia to find any character you like. The same goes for villages, castles, and cities. And the easiest way to access this is to bring up the party screen and then right-click on yourself, revealing your own encyclopedia page. Then in the top right, just search for whoever or whatever it is that you're after, and in our case that's Ragavand. And here we can take a look at all of his relationships, stats, an activity log, and most importantly of all, where he was last seen, Belgard. We can then click through to that city's page and track its location on the map. If you haven't spent hours trying to complete that quest yet, and you didn't know about this already, I've just saved you a very painful experience. No worries. Number 3, that being said, when you're not traipsing about the place trying to find Ragavand and every other high-ranking noble in the entire world, it's also a good idea to pick an area of the map to be your sort of base. If you're intending to join one of the game's factions at some point, it might help to do the majority of your questing, leveling, army building, etc. within its borders. Why? Well, for a start, it'll mean that you're building up relationships with that faction's most important characters. This will put you in better standing once you want to dive more directly into the politics of that faction, and it also means you'll have access to more recruits from the local population. In Bannerlord, you don't just hire every available recruit in a village or a city, you're limited to a certain amount based on how much the most influential characters living there like you. It won't help much if all of your best relationships are on the other end of the map to the faction you end up siding with. And also, in my case, it might have helped to spend a little more time in Vlandir before I joined their cause, because if I had, I might have noticed how badly they were getting mullered by Britannia, and maybe I'd have joined someone else. Look at the state of this map. We are ruined. Number 4, and this is another quick one, bandit hideouts suck. They absolutely suck. Avoid them, don't go near them, don't go in them, don't even look at them unless you have to, because they have the potential to completely ruin your game. For a start, you don't get to select which of the handful of troops you're going to take with you into that battle. You'd think it'd be the best of the best, right? The cream of the crop from your army, but as far as I can tell, the game just selects them at random, meaning you could be walking into what will be a difficult fight early on with some of the worst soldiers in your army. And if you fall, unlike a normal battle where the rest of your troops will carry on without you, that doesn't happen here. If your character hits the floor, the whole thing is lost, you end up being captured, and your entire army is disbanded in one go. It doesn't matter if you had 100 troops waiting outside, they're all gone. It's hugely unfair, and until they patch this to have it make more sense, I would really advise you to just ignore hideouts whenever you can, or at least make sure you save the game right before you enter one. Oh, these are frustrating things. Number 5, how to couch your lance. In Mount & Blade Warband, this used to happen automatically. Once you built up enough speed on horseback, your character would lower their lance and you'd be good to go. That is not the case in Bannerlord, and you might have been using your polearm like this, riding up towards an enemy and then clicking to stab them. This is not only more difficult to land a hit with, but depending on your weapon, it does substantially less damage. So here is a normal hit, right? I click, I stab, 158 damage, not bad. Here's what happens if I press X on my keyboard once I've built up some speed, lower the lance and couch it, and there we go, 695 damage. It is worlds apart, and it's also, like I said, just usually easier to land a hit with too. Number 6, trading. It might seem overwhelming given the number of items in Bannerlord, but it doesn't have to be. When you visit a village or a city, get into the habit of going to the marketplace and then scrolling down until you reach the food and trading goods that are for sale. Hover over these and you'll see that the price is either marked green or red. Green means that this item is being sold at a cheaper rate than the average price across the land, while red means it's more expensive. Hover over the number itself and your character will estimate by how much. Now, if you can get to the habit of buying goods at a cheap price in bulk and holding on to them until you visit somewhere where they're valued more highly, you can keep a steady stream of income flowing throughout your campaign. If you want to go for a really big profit, keep an eye out for trade rumors like this one. They're not always accurate, but they're usually close, and if you can buy something cheap and then take it to a city known for paying really, really well over the asking price, you can make a fortune. You're essentially running your own caravan at this stage, so make sure you have enough troops to scare off any bandits that might hassle you along the way, and very importantly, don't spend so much gold on your investment that you can't afford to pay your troops. That one matters. Number 7, and finally, a quick word on formations. Strangely enough, this is arguably more difficult when you're fighting looters and bandits who just charge at you en masse, compared to the generals of the major factions who will hold back and use formations of their own. At least with the latter, it gives you time to get yourself organized first. And so for the vast majority of battles you'll be fighting in the early game, you've actually got quite a short window of time in which to get everyone where they need to be before the enemy are right there up in front of you. Which is why I recommend you master 1 or 2 very simple formations that you can get up and running within seconds of each battle kicking off. Here's one that has worked for me, time and time again. So press 1 to select all of your infantry, then F1 to give a position, and that means you can line them up even in a straight line like this will work. And if you're feeling fancy, actually, you can use F3 and then F2 to have them stand as a shield wall, protecting themselves a little more from range attacks. But if that sounds like too much to think about right now, just remember press 1 to select infantry, F1 to position them. Then grab your ranged units by pressing 2 and have them positioned just in front of the infantry. This gives them a clear shot at enemy units, and when they finally get too close, after hopefully being whittled down quite a bit, you can have your infantry charge ahead, and that'll ensure your archers actually stay out of any melee combat. It's also good to grab your cavalry, if you have them, by pressing number 3 and then positioning them on one of your flanks. And again, if you want to get fancy, try pressing F3 and then F6 to have them use a wedge-like formation that is perfect when charging into enemy infantry. That sounds like a lot, I know, but if you can master that, you're set. Use 1, 2, and 3 to cycle between your different unit types, and then mostly it's about using F1 to position them or have them charge forwards. You can use extra formations if you want to show off, but really, if you just get those basics down, you're going to be set for a lot of those early battles. That's it. And with that, we come to the end of this tips video. If you enjoyed it and want some more, why not let us know? Perhaps RPS will have me back to talk even more Mount & Blade. Can you imagine it? And best of all, if you have any tips of your own that have not been mentioned here already, let us know in the comments. This game is messy and hard to understand at times, so we could probably all use each other's help. Thanks for watching. No, sorry, actually, before I go, I need to share one more thing. More people need to know about this. So this turned out to be a bug rather than a feature, more's the pity, but on the first couple of days of Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord being out, there was a really strange thing where if you pressed R on the character creation screen, as in, like, press the key R on your keyboard while making a character, this happened. And you could then play the game as a baby. Which made shields really, really overpowered, and I don't know what to do with this footage, so please look at it. Like I say, it's been patched out of the game now, which is a shame, but for a beautiful moment, this was a possibility, and yeah, I thought you might like it. Okay, now I'm done for real. Thanks RPS for having me, and I will see you soon. Goodbye!